This is Inspiring Careers with your host, Ingrid Centurion. We're going to talk about fascinating technologies that will impact your future. Meet inspiring entrepreneurs and people that are making huge differences in the community and around the world. We're going to share career and life lessons of inspiration and success. Our mission is to inspire our viewers to make a better life for themselves by sharing our stories, our interviews, and documentaries. Please stay tuned as we have incredible guests coming up. The Veterans of Foreign Wars Department of Massachusetts elected its 100th state commander at its 99th state convention at the Doubletree in Leominster on June 9, 2019. Jeffrey Najarian is an Army veteran who earned his eligibility in the VFW for service in Vietnam from 1970 to 1971 as a member of the 2nd Field Force. Jeff joined the VFW in 1974 and has held many post and district positions, notably commander of the Rockland Old Colony VFW Post 1788 from 2008 to 2010. All-State and All-American Post Commander 2010, and the District 12 Commander from 2010 to 2012. On the state level, he served on a number of committees, notably State Voice of Democracy Chairman 2011 to 2013, State Patriots Pen Chairman 2014 to 2015, and State Inspector 2015 to 2016, and appointed National Aide-de-Camp for 2012 to 2015. He was also elected State Surgeon, State Junior Vice Commander, State Senior Vice Commander, and now Commander of the Department of Massachusetts VFW. Jeff is a Gold Life Legacy member. He's married for over 44 years to his lovely wife, Mary, and they have 2 sons and 4 grandsons. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That is a very long biography.
Is that me? Did I do all that?
You've been busy in the
busy.
VFW.
Yes, yeah. It's been one of those things. As a Vietnam veteran, we weren't readily accepted as regular veterans. It was a difficult transition, but I stuck it out, and I found out after a few years that the VFW is an organization that does a lot for veterans. It really does, and as such, I said, started getting involved. Sought election to different offices, went through the chain, and culminating in being here before you now is the 100th commander for the VFW. And
this is something, I'm sure, this was a goal I talk about all the time, goal setting. And tell us a little bit about your family and your background.
Well, I have 2 sons, and I'm really proud of them. One is currently a captain in the Army. It makes me salute him all the time. I tell him, hey, I'm a commander. Isn't that higher than a captain? That's okay. And my other son is a cigar distributor for a major cigar company. And since I'm a cigar smoker, I get the best of both worlds. It's really terrific.
So there's a lot of cigars in the VFW.
A lot of cigars in the VFW. But the big thing is that I'm here, I'd like to help veterans. I do whatever I can. It's been the driving force behind this, because I realize that the higher you can go, the more influence you can have, and the more you can try to do. And that's where I'm coming from. The last 2 commanders we have changed, and brought on a lot of changes, which I'm going to keep on going. And part of that is we're getting out there. We're going to the posts, we're going to the districts, we're going to a lot of functions, putting a lot of miles in the cars. But that's what we need to be doing. It's kind of funny, you go to a place and somebody will say, gee, I haven't seen a state officer here in 40 years. Well, you know what, we're doing it. And when you do that, they get to see the face behind what's going on in your department, and they realize that, hey, maybe somebody does care. But all the posts, they do what they do on their level. The districts, they do even more on their level. And the department, we're trying to put it all together and help veterans. That's what we do.
And your 1 year in command will go by quickly. You're going to be on the road. You're going to be visiting all the posts. They're going to see your face.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the Blue Water Navy Vietnam Veterans Act that has just passed.
Yeah. As you know, it's waiting for the president's signature.
Okay.
It was one of those situations that the VFW has fought hard for, as well as other organizations. when the basics are that there were Navy people on ships offshore supporting our efforts in Vietnam. Originally, quite a few of them, they call them the Blue Water Navy as opposed to the Brown Water Navy, doing river patrols and so forth. At first, a number of them did receive benefits, but it just happened that they decided to take the benefits away. And from that point on, veterans, especially the VFW, has been fighting to bring them back. And mainly those benefits are surrounded by exposure to defoliant. And they do have plans when they drop the defoliant. It was only in certain areas, but once you let something go from a plane, it is carried everywhere. Even the planes themselves that carry that, poison is what it comes down to.
It is.
Truly are still infected. There are Air Force personnel flying those planes that currently are getting the same symptoms that other people in Vietnam have been experiencing for years and years. So we were fighting for it. When our National Commander-in-Chief, P.J. Lawrence, went before the House Joint Committee on Veterans Services, he was right there fighting, and they listened to him. And shortly after that, they brought the bill back because the bill was going to the Superior Court. Superior Court said it's up to the VA. If the VA wanted to fight it, then it would go on for years. The VA said no, they didn't want to fight it. Went back to the House. The House recently passed it unanimously. It went before the Senate, same thing, and now it's waiting for the President's signature, which is a magnificent thing. There are, I believe, I think it's 90,000 Navy veterans that were affected by defoliant, and you know, they deserve it. They earned it. They deserve it, and I think they're going to get it.
And that is just one story
Yes.
of how powerful and how hard the VFW is working
Yes.
for us veterans who serve this country.
Yeah. Last year, our Commander-in-Chief went before Congress to speak on either for or against bills that were affecting veterans. And when you go up there and you speak with the 2 million plus veterans and auxiliary members, then it carries a lot of weight. And when you think about each different organization doing the same thing, we carry a lot of weight, and we need to use it to help our veterans to pass those bills that will help and to stop ones that will take benefits away.
The next topic I want to talk about is veterans' mental health and suicide, and what the VFW is doing, and the campaigns that you're running and that you've been running for several years to help in this space.
Yes, it's really important because, as you know, mental health is a serious matter. We know in the past, like they said, 22 veterans commit suicide a day. They did lower those numbers to 20, but even one a day is too many. We need to focus on in helping these veterans. And one of the things that happened 4 years ago is the National Commander-in-Chief, Brian Duffy, started a program for all the VFWs to follow. It was called Change Direction and Know the 5 Signs. And what it is a mental health awareness, because a lot of times people that are having issues don't sit around and say, yeah, I've got issues, I have problems, I'm going to seek help. They're the last ones to even admit to it.
They're the last ones to admit to it. They don't even know that they have it.
Right.
Family members also don't want to address the real issues. We have a problem here. They've had this bad behavior for a really long time. And this is a great program that's going to teach us now. Here are some signs.
Right.
Explain those signs to us.
Well, it's a matter of awareness. People are generally consistent the way they are. They dress the same, they talk the same, their mannerisms, everything about their daily life is pretty consistent. Not that means that we're boring, it's just that's the way life is. If you know someone, whether it's a friend, a relative, somebody you work with, somebody you don't know but you see in the coffee shop every single day, if you see someone that is changed, they're not acting the same, something's different about them, what this program says, you need to be aware of those signs and not just tell your friend about it, saying, hey, what's wrong with Jeff Najarian today? What you need to do is go up to that person, kind of look them in the eye and say, how's it going? How are you today? How you doing? It's taken a chance to do that. You know that. But that's what you have to do. You have to be aware and be willing to take that chance, because maybe that's the one thing that's going to spark that person to seek assistance. And that's what it's all about. Because as you said, we both just said, people that are having problems are not usually aware of it. And they're not going to pick up those cards that we have that say, know those 5 signs, and say, whoa, I'm agitated. No, that's not the way it works. So they need help, and we need, what I like about a recent bill they've come up with is they're trying to make it a grassroots effort in the community with mental health. And that's where it all begins, because all those local peoples in those smaller towns, they see this all the time, and they can recognize it quicker. And if you can get the help right there, if somebody says, oh, you have to travel 40 miles and go to that VA hospital, that might be a hindrance to that. But if they have something locally they can do with people that they know or are friendly with, that might make a big difference to start it. Yes, they'll need to see professional help sooner or later to help them over it, but you have to get them in the system first. And doing something on those lower levels, grassroots levels, I think is the way to go. Yeah.
And the VFW has been very active in hurricane relief and deployed families during disaster times. Share with us the great things we're doing here in the state with Puerto Rico.
Not too long ago, with everything that was happening in Puerto Rico, one of our members from that area, with family still there, volunteered to go down and see what he could do to help. He was there for months, and we supported him every way we could, not only with money and funds, but we supplied water and other things to help them, because they really needed the basics. He had help from a lot of different areas and other states, as well as the national VFW. But it was a pretty devastating thing. Most people don't realize just how bad it was, and they still haven't fully recovered. But that's just one of the things we do. We have the VFW Unmet Needs Program. There's a national program, and each department has their own. We recently had a woman with a small family, and her roof was leaking. She sought assistance from all the different areas, but for some reason could not get the help she needed. The Massachusetts Department of Mass VFW stepped forward, and with our Unmet Needs Program, we were able to find someone who could fix that roof and paid for that. Again, just a simple success story, but it makes a big difference. And the Unmet Needs Program does help those families whose spouse is deployed, but they're having an issue or a problem. It could be a car broke down, but they got to get to the hospital or something else. A lot of different things, and that's, again, just one example, but some great programs out there.
We have several great programs.
Yes.
How many members do we have in the state of Massachusetts?
There are approximately 22,000 VFW members in the state. And when you think about it, for a fairly small state, we have over 365,000 veterans within the state itself. So there's a lot of possibilities for recruits out there. But we have 22,000 members, yes.
We have a lot of members, that's great, but there's so many more out there that we need to reach. Mm-hmm. And many of the aging veterans who are passing away, on my roster, I've called some members, and they may have passed away, or now their wives are there, and their wives may need the help. Absolutely. And I want people to know that, oh, just because the veteran passed away, we're still here as an organization to help your families as well, because now she's a widow, and she served with him all those years.
Absolutely.
And we say we're here for your family as well, mm-hmm. not just the veteran.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, World War II vets, as you know, we lose them so much, so many every day, and they didn't get the name The Greatest Generation just from that book. They truly are, because those millions of men and women came home, they didn't complain, they went back to work, or they went to school, and they just, that's what they did, and never even sought help. Many times when we talk to an older member, and it doesn't have to be a member, it just has to be a veteran. You don't have to be a VFW member to get these services. And they say, well, you know, I did have, you know, I was on the plane, the aircraft carrier deck, and I was in Airedale, and I never, I just thought it was just part of life. You get them the help. Next thing you know, he's got hearing aids, and it's just one of those things. They never sought the help, and it's a real shame because they earned it and they deserve it. And they still can. They can still apply. And the way you do that is by going to the over 2,000 certified veteran service officers. They are certified through the VA, and they can help you with your claim. You do not have to be a VFW member to get that service. You just go to them, call them, make arrangements, fill out the paperwork. And Massachusetts, I'm pleased to say, has a fantastic staff of people so that once you get that paperwork to Boston, which the different area service officers can do electronically, and they make sure it's correct, next thing you know, that is in the VA system before you know it. It doesn't go by snail mail or anything else. It's all electronic, and before you know it, at least it's at the VA, so the Veterans Administration, so they can start working on it.
So all our cities and towns here in Massachusetts, most of them have a veteran service officer.
Yes, they're called veterans agents, and basically they do a great job too. They're local, they're right there where people live, but their main responsibility is Chapter 115, which are state benefits. And our people are completely connected with the federal end of it, you know, for compensation through the VA. That's their specialty. And yes, these local agents can help you with that, but ultimately it still has to go through, in this case, Boston, through our office to be sent to the VA.
And the 2,000 veteran service officers, those are dispersed throughout
the world.
Throughout the nation and the world.
And the world,
That's
yes.
right. We have deployed
Overseas.
VSOs in Europe.
Korea, I mean, there's a number of different places, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and these are not your veterans agents. These are trained VFW employees that can take federal claims for benefits.
And your VSO up in headquarters
Yes.
is Delray
Delray Dorsey, absolutely, great guy. He's been doing it for a number of years now, and I believe it's over $25 million in compensation has come back, and these are for Massachusetts veterans, and that money comes back to Massachusetts. It goes to the veteran who's going to use it right here in Massachusetts. But that's absolutely amazing. We do have a service rep, our service officer in the Western Mass. We have one in Central Mass, Worcester. We have one on the North Shore and the South Shore, and 3 different people at our main office in Boston at the JFK building that can take claims. With the update in electronics that we have, once those claims are in, the VA has it so quickly your head spins. It really is amazing.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Let's talk about women in the state of Massachusetts and women's initiatives and women VFW members.
We have, out of the 22,000 members, only about 289 are members of the VFW. That's only about 1%. It's something that nowadays it's really not acceptable. I mean, you can't force somebody to join the VFW, but it's an issue that we need to address because there are a large amount, there's a larger percentage of women that are serving and therefore qualified for the VFW. And we have had a women's liaison person for years, and we've had some good ones, but it's not an easy job because those old school people that are still around, the old dinosaurs that think that women shouldn't fight or anything else, but you know what? They got to get over that because women are a viable force in our military, and they need to be accepted into the veterans as equal partners. When you think about it, veterans are veterans. You know, race, color, gender, none of that should affect what you do. And I say that because as officers and members, we all take an oath to fulfill certain requirements. What it really comes down to is doing the right thing. That's actually my motto this year. Every commander, when they come in, they have a particular phrase or a typical philosophy that they like to impart. Mine is something that I got from my old man, and probably a lot of people got all these great information from their parents. And he always said, Jeff, do the right thing. When you think about it, that encompasses just about everything. Because if you do the right thing, you're going to succeed. And of course, as you know, Ingrid, doing the right thing is usually the most difficult, the hardest thing to do. But we take an oath to do our best, to do the right thing.
Yeah, most people try and do the easiest thing,
Sometimes
the
they
fastest
take that
thing.
easy road, yeah.
They're not doing the right thing.
Right.
And we need to get away from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are your goals for this year? The year goes by fast.
Yes, it does, yeah. Without a doubt, of course, every commander of every department wants to be 100%. Indeed, we had a great year last year. It was 2 years in a row that the department was 100% or more.
What does 100% mean?
That means that if you have 22,000 members, that all those members are some new ones, because unfortunately we lose people when you pass away. That's a number that you have to get a new member for. It means that we've 100%, truly.
So every year, your numbers have been remaining steady, or are they increasing?
Well, for the last couple of years, we've increased just a little, which is different because for many, many years now, we've been losing them. If I'm not mistaken, a past state commander mentioned the other day that 40 years ago, we had 60,000 members in the VFW. And now we have 22,000. And yes, a lot of them are World War II and Korean vets, and actually Vietnam vets who are up in their 70s who are passing away. And getting the new members hasn't equaled the loss of the older ones. So our numbers have gone down. But we have the potential for more, there's no question about it.
It's really about getting in the community and being involved in the community.
Right.
You were the chairman of the Voice of Democracy. Mm-hmm. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Voice of Democracy program is one of the many programs that the VFW has had for years, and it's a scholarship program. Basically, it's for high school students. You need to do a written essay, which you will put on audio tape, and it's judged on the post level. If you win at the post level, and it's usually a patriotic theme, something that that they have to think about, and it goes to the district level. If you happen to win at the district level, you are going to the state level. At the state level, if you win there, you're actually, the state winner is sent to the national, and if you win the national Voice of Democracy contest, you get a $30,000 scholarship, not counting all the other money that you've gotten, because when you win at a post, you're given a certain amount of money. If you win at the district, you're given a little bit more money. When you win at the state, you're given a little bit more money, plus from the auxiliary as well, who donates money to these winners. So by the time you're through, you're doing very well, and there's nothing wrong with a $30,000 scholarship.
No, that's wonderful. You're changing someone's lives.
Yes, but the theme usually teaches the participants something about patriotism, something about the country, and it's a think piece. So they do have to put some thought to it. And of course, this is your business about presentation, people talking. The way you present something is almost as important as the words you speak. So if you got both of those down, you get a good chance of winning. But it's a great contest, and thousands of dollars nationwide before it even gets to the department, to the national for their awards. The smallest amount of money that the national gives is $1,000. those 53 winners from the 50 states and 3 departments, they get a minimum of $1,000. After so many, it's $1,500. After so many, it just goes all the way up to, you know, I think the second place is $3,000 for $5,000. First place is at $30,000. So they get a lot of scholarship money, and they just get an indication about how the government works. For goodness, they spent the whole week in Washington, going to the sites and seeing, you know, how the government works. So, and that's just one of our programs. It's really amazing.
And we're going to have you back many times on Inspiring Careers so we can learn about all the other programs.
Right.
But I just wanted to thank you for being on the show. This is a little brief introduction into the VFW. We'll be doing a lot more. You know, the show airs Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 4:30 and Saturdays at 1:30 on various different cable channels. And we're also in 22 states. So as we share our message of what the VFW does, we're really going to get the word out there to contact your local VFW post, contact your local Veteran Service Officer, or contact the National VFW Veteran Service Officers that we talked about today.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Right. Right.